Yay! Well, hello, everyone. We are back. So hello, and welcome, everyone, to our BG5 Live, where we explore the weekly conditioning influences that affect our life, our career, and our business through the lens of BG5, the career and business application of the human design system. So we're so excited to be back. So welcome to everyone. And what we are going to take a look at today is we're going to take a look at the trait for the day, which is trait 57. This is intuitive clarity. We're going to take a look at the intuitive clarity to handle shock. So this is October 10th, 2023. This is episode 1 of 2023. And again, welcome to all of you. It's been a while since we have done a BG5 Live, and it is so great to be back. Now, before we jump in and get started, I want to introduce the team because I have an amazing team around me, and I also have some consultants in training that are here and joining us today. So I'd love to introduce everyone. My name is Karen Sherwood. I'm an instructor at the BG5 Business Institute. I also am a BG5 career and business consultant through BG5 Solutions. And so I would love to introduce my team, and we're going to have an amazing discussion today. So let's start with Natalie. Natalie, if you want to say hello and introduce yourself.
Yes, so hello, and I'm thrilled that we are doing these BG5 Lives again. This is such a great opportunity for everyone to learn about every single trait, and we really have nice discussions on how it is actually practical in day-to-day life and business, how it shows up for us, how it shows up for our clients. So this is just amazing, valuable information, right, that we share here in this little half an hour to an hour. So my name is Natalie Keizer. I am Dutch. I live in Amsterdam, and I'm a BG5 consultant as well as trainer, just like Karen. I work for the Business Institute, train in Dutch, also in English, but I don't do that for now. There are enough English trainers, so I teach in Dutch, the foundation, certification, BG5 certification, OC16. And I'm also part of the BG5 Solutions as a career and business consultant. And I have, in the Netherlands, I have my own coaching practice called Authentico 2.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you and welcome, Natalie. It's so great to have you back on BG5 Live as well. Natalie was with me with the very first BG5 Live, and so it's great that she's here again in launching the new version of BG5 Live. So welcome. And let's go to Shelley. Hello, Shelley. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here too. It's kind of exciting to get this up and running again. I was helping Karen and Natalie with it over the last couple of years while I was taking my training, and also helping out at the BG5 Business Institute as an administrator. And now we've moved along to work in our own BG5 consulting group called BG5 Solutions. And so I'm actively involved in helping that get up and running. And I have my own individual coaching practice. I live on Vancouver Island in Canada, just across the water from Seattle, in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And I do some local coaching and a wellness center here as well. So happy to be involved and stay connected with everybody online from all over the world. That's the fun thing about BG5 is the amazing people I've got to meet in this journey. So happy to be back with all of you online, having some great BG5 Geek Out sessions.
Exactly. Well, welcome, Shelley. It's great to have you on board. And let's go to Banu. And Banu, you just started your BG5 Foundation course as well. So welcome, Banu, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. It's my great pleasure to be co-hosting this with Karen and everyone else who's co-hosting. So Banu, I'm Turkish. I'm based out of Luxembourg, a little bit from Istanbul, so lots of traveling. I've spent 25 years in the corporate world. And I am right now transitioning from the corporate world into just doing BG5. So I'm very happy for that because I'll have a lot of time for something that I'm very, very passionate about. Just like Karen and Natalie, I'm also a consultant in BG5, OC16, and I also teach classes. And just like Karen mentioned, my foundation class just started last week. I teach on Thursday evenings for Europe time and mornings for the US time. I'm very excited to be going on this journey again. And I'm also part of the BG5 Solutions Group with Karen, Shelley, and Natalie as well. So we want BG5 to go out into the world and put our energy behind that. So I'm very excited about that as well. And the word about the BG5 Live, I've always loved watching these. I never had time to participate in them before. But what makes it different in my view, and I'm an advisor, by the way, so I'll bring that view, I'm hoping, into the BG5 Live discussions as well. But I think what makes BG5 Live different is that you might be seeing like a lot of postings around what the trait of the day is, or what the theme of the day is, or what the background frequency is. And you'll usually find like an excerpt from the definitive book of human design around what it means. But what we do here is something very different, because we're going to see how this applies to the business world. Okay, so it's not just like a matter of, you know, a little few words about the traits and all that, but the actual application of it. And that's what BG5 is. It's about practical applications of the knowledge. So I hope everybody benefits a lot from it. And I'm happy everybody's here today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Banu. And it's great to have you on board. And it's so exciting that you do have the opportunity to now participate. So we're looking forward to your insights as well. And I wanted to do a quick introduction. I have a couple of my students here as well that are amazing students. And I wanted to give them a shout out and have them quickly introduce themselves. So let's start with Boris. So Boris, welcome. It's great to have you here.
I was actually not prepared to say anything. I was just like thinking I would listen into the call, since it's I've seen it. It's the first time BG5 Live. I mean, it's what you all said already. I mean, BG5 or human design have changed my life, completely brought me to myself, and I think this is what it's all about. And I'm about to become a BG5 consultant as well. And it's for me to give back to companies a better way of dealing with people and individuals and unique individuals, how we all are. And I think this is my way forward. This is what I do already as a practice. I put human in the center. That's how my coaching and business support consultancy is called. So I'm happy to be here, and whatever I can contribute with trait 57 that I have as well. I would voluntarily share my experiences and examples. Thanks a lot for being here. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Boris. Sorry for putting you on the spot, but you always share so brilliantly. So I wanted to give you a shout out. And I want to give a shout out to Chris as well. So Chris, I would love for you to introduce yourself also.
Thanks, Karen. Hello, I'm Chris Montoya, and I'm in the third semester, which is the final semester of BG5 certification with Karen. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm also in the cycles certification with Karen. So I'm doing double duty this semester, and I'm so excited to have this conversation because I have trait 57 and I love trait 57. So thank you.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris. It's great to have you all on board, and let's dive in. So again, today we are taking a look at trait 57. We're taking a look at intuitive clarity to handle shock. Now, if you are wondering, do I have 57 in my design or not? I do want to encourage you to download your chart. You can go to the BG5 Business Institute.com. And you can download your free chart. You can take a look at, do you have trait 57 in your design? And you can follow along. And if you don't, it's also important to understand how it works and how it can also condition you as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in with today's theme, the trait 57 of intuitive clarity. Now, this is the intuitive clarity to handle shock. And one of the things that we have recognized is that things are dramatically shifting and changing in the world. What once was certain is no longer certain. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Ra. He says, the whole direction is a shock, and it's going to be a shock. To be able to operate correctly as yourself is to operate in a world that will demand nothing less. It is a world that will embrace those who can operate as themselves, and it means a great deal of disorder and chaos and confusion to those who are lost in dependency. Everyone was nurtured in it, and everything about our kind is rooted in dependency. And dependency is about giving up your own authority. And so what we are going to take a look at today, and I think this is the perfect trait to kick off our BG5 Live, is because we currently are in these major shifting times. And if we take a look at trait 57, we can see that it's also grounded by shock. So with trait 57, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce what trait 57 is all about, and then I'm going to open it up to discussion. So what we're doing is we're planting the seeds, getting the overall feel of what trait 57 is all about. Then we're going to dive into the discussion to see the actual practical application of it. So when we take a look at trait 57, again, this in essence is what is conditioning all of us at this moment. It's intuitive clarity. It's the gentle. It can also be the fear of the future. And if you look at media right now, if you look at what's going on in the world, there can be a fear of the future and where we're moving forward to in the future. This is the extraordinary power of clarity. And it's grounded by trait 51 of initiative. It's about arousing. It's about shock. This is also the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. So one of the things that trait 57, intuitive clarity, is all about is being able to handle shock, being able to, when nothing else makes sense, to be able to trust our instincts, to be able to move forward correctly through adapting, through the recognition that things are shifting and changing. And again, we are right at that precipice where things are dramatically shifting and changing. What's interesting, both about the 57 and the 51, is at the beginning of next year, 2024, this is going to be the environment that we're going to be experiencing for the first quarter of 2024. So we're going to be in an environment of shock, that we're going to really need to trust ourselves, trust our intuition, trust our decision-making strategy to guide us through dramatically shifting times. And we'll talk more about that as we continue through BG5 Live, especially at the beginning of next year, where this is going to be a major theme. Now, one of the things also about BG5 is we also take a look at your life work theme. One of the things that we can see in the era of planning, the era of the past, is that life and work was separated, right? You worked really hard so that you could enjoy your quote unquote real life. That's now beginning to blend, and we're really taking a look at what is our overall life work? What is our overall life purpose? That's one of the things that we also explore in BG5. Now, if you happen to have trait 57 as part of your life work theme, you could have a life work theme of penetration, intuition, or the clarion. This is actually, I didn't recognize it until today, but this is actually what's known as my design date. And so part of my life work is about this penetration. It's about diving deep into things. And that's what I love about BG5 is I have this ability to, in a sense, sort of penetrate the surface, to be able to see what's lying underneath. And part of that intuitive clarity allows for that penetration, for going in deep, for understanding things at a deeper level. It's interesting that the clarion is Ra Urahu, the person who brought forth human design in BG5. His life work theme was the clarion. And of course, bringing forth this information really was the clarion. It was his life work. And so I can really see how this penetration, this intuition, this clarion can be part of the life work theme, especially if you have trait 57 as part of your life work theme. Now, if you want to go deeper into what your life work theme is, again, this is what all of us are here as consultants to help you dive in and understand that for yourself individually. Or again, if you want to utilize this with clients as well, the BG5 Institute is a great way to get a foundation of what this is all about and become a certified consultant as well. So I wanted to bring forth this to kind of give you sort of the big picture of what trait 57 is all about and what it's connected to. Again, it really is connected to that initiative, that shock, that ability to respond to disorder. Now, if we take a look at the deeper aspects of what trait 57 is all about, we can see that it is in the survival instinct. Now, if you're new to BG5, we use a slightly different language in BG5 to make it a little bit more practical. When we take a look at human design is really about being able to develop yourself personally, and it's a personal awakening. When we're dealing with it with business, we want to make it very practical so that the average everyday person can understand it. And so instead of spleen, we call it the survival instinct. So it really is about the survival instinct. And so 57 is part of how we survive. It's very acoustic, and it's the gentle, it's penetrating to the core of the now. It's the extraordinary power of clarity. And it's like a chill breeze that can touch you to the bone. It's the maximization of intuitive clarity that demands existential attention, right? So it's being able to really tune into your instincts. And it is a deep inner attunement to sound. Again, it's very acoustic. That's constantly alerting you to the environment, making you aware of the environment in each and every moment. However, now, one of the things about the survival instinct is that it speaks very softly. And Banu, this is also part of your decision-making strategy as well as an advisor. So you must be focused on the now moment to hear those messages from your intuition. And you may also sometimes appear deaf to others or be accused of selective hearing to what others have to say. So pay close attention to your intuitive knowing to alleviate the fear of the future. One of the things that Roz said is when you're really present in the future, when you're really present to the now, there is no future to be afraid of. All right. So this is what intuitive insight, intuitive clarity is all about. Now, what I also want to focus on specifically today is what is traits 57's role in business? So when we take a look at business, what is the role? So someone with trait 57 in their career design has this intuitive clarity to know what should be innovated within a company or with its products or services. So they can really get a sense of what are those things that need to shift, that need to change to keep the business relevant. It's also those people that have the 57 within business are tuned into the marketplace and can hear trends so that the business can adapt and that they can also survive moving forward into the future. And one of the interesting things about trait 57 is it's part of the era of the individual. It's part of the era that we're moving into in this major shift. And it's the creativity of this new era. And this creativity will come through our intuition. And only intuition can make the best out of difficult situations when there are no answers. And so with all of that, in planting the seed, what I would love to do is open up the discussion in taking a look at trait 57 and what does it mean for each of you that are on our panel and our team? What does trait 57, how does that show up for yourself personally? How have you coached or worked with people in business that have trait 57? And what I would love to do is I would love to start with Banu, because I know you have trait 57, and also the instinctive awareness is part of your decision-making strategy as well. So I would like to kick things off and invite you, Banu, to share a little bit about trait 57 for you and how it shows up for you both in business and in life.
Right. Well, thank you, Karen. There's so much to say, but I'll start with the business angle first. So when you were running through that slide that shows, this is what a person who has the 57 can bring into the business. And then like the bullets, I could find 10 examples of it, how I brought it to the companies I worked for. So the first one, when that part about intuitive clarity to know what should be innovated, what should be changed in terms of products and services. So I've done roles majorly in marketing and then majorly in sales. And as salespeople, you don't usually change the product or the service. You sell what's there, right? So there are components you can bring together. But as a sales manager, and when I was doing account management as well, I had the ability to find innovative ways around being able to sell. So like channel campaigns, putting partners on programs that could actually, that would make sure we could bring the revenue targets that were there. Thinking of how we can engage the partners so they could sell our products. I created like the sales academy so they could come and learn both on product and how to sell, for example. So all these, it just comes to you naturally because the product is there and it doesn't change. It is what it is and you can play around it. But then that intuitive things, they just came to me. And then we were able to make them come true as a team as well, which really, truly helped. And then the second bullet about being able to sniff what's happening in the marketplace, that's another thing, throughout the years, it's as if I had this thing in me, just like by speaking to people, call a few partners, call a few distributors, speak to a few people from the team. And then like I could present to somebody what's happening in the country because it comes to you. You can bring the story together instead of just looking at, some market figures. Of course, numbers are important. You got to look into them, of course. But then you can really bring things together. So having the 57 myself, I've used it a lot. It's helped me a lot, actually, to change things. And I remember every time a big, like a VP or somebody would come and we would present as a team, like one of the things I would present is how are we approaching things differently now? And it came from all this, that the 57 was a great support. Of course, it comes through the whole combination of things, the synthesis of the whole thing and the team as well. But I think this has really supported me throughout my journey.
Yes.
I'll speak again. There's a lot. I'll speak about the personal side as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Banu. And again, being able to bring that insight into business and what needs to be transformed and what needs to be changed. Again, if you don't have it yourself and you're in business, finding someone like Banu that has it defined in her design that can bring forth that intuitive knowing that can bring forth that instinct of what needs to be shifted or what needs to be changed. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Banu. And Natalie, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, so I do have the 57 also defined in my design. I have it in my unconscious life work. So it's part of my life work as well. I'm actually on the half birthday of Karen's life work. And it is very, very strong trait for me. And I like all my life, I kind of used it. Right, I trusted my intuition, etc. But since I know this, I trusted blindly, so to say. And then you, with this trait, you can really have these like you don't even know where it comes from kind of thoughts. So when I work with clients or when I work with my students, and I hear them because it's also it's the right ear. So you intuitively hear in between the lines what they are actually saying or what the theme is behind what they are sharing, or if it's a fear, or if it's whatever, right? So and you will see me actually do this. So if you have this in your design, it's really fun to watch. You will do like this to really start listening to, with your right ear, to what the other is saying. And so I noticed that things can come out of my mouth because it's spontaneous, it's in the now. Things can come out of my mouth that even amaze myself, right? But it's what I pick up, you know, in the frequency, or in the whatever it is from the other. So yeah, that is how I apply it for myself in the work that I do as a trainer and as a consultant in working with people, right? So it's very, very, it's amazing. It's wonderful.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Natalie. And how about for you, Shelley?
Well, I love listening to how this works for each of you. And I don't have the 57 or the 51, but I recognize it in all of you. And I recognize it in people I've worked with in the past. In terms of like the large organization, or OC16, I have the other side, the 22, which is the other individual piece, which is about listening to hear what the clients want. And so I do have that piece, but I've always in the past worked with really creative people who've had the 57 or the 5710 or 5720. And together we've been able to transform things. I have the 360, which is all about transforming a large organization. So, but I'm more on the support end of it. When the ideas come and you get the creative insight, I'm somebody that can help you actually make the transformation happen. That kind of works through me. So I know when Natalie and Karen and I were working together at BG5 Business Institute, and add in one more of our colleagues, and we had all sorts of ideas going on about everything that needed to change and how we could do it. It was a really, really powerful team. So I enjoy this, and I'm always in awe of people who have that instinctive knowing in the now. It's a jealousy trait for me. But I appreciate it in those of you that have it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shelley. And Boris, you have trait 57 as well, and it's one of your strengths. It's part of one of your strengths. I would love to hear how it shows up for you.
Well, listening to Shelley, Banu, and Natalie, and you as well, Karen, it's amazing. It's this hearing. And when Natalie said turn the right ear, it's typically when I listen to my coaches, it's like the right ear goes to front, and it's this instinctive knowing what is said. There's something behind. It's not the full truth. It's not complete. It's not accurate, and whatever it might be. And in the large company I was working for, I was a long time as well in internal controls and audit. Meaning when people were telling me about the processes, and it links to process as well, they were talking about it, and was immediately like, wait a second, right here, there is a loophole. There is something inside that it's worth digging. And yeah, as well, like privately, this 5734, this personal power, this integration, circuitry with self-empowerment, this, I know what I want, and I go for it, and I listen to my instincts. It's this instinctive knowing in the now that something is right. This like kicks off my sacral energy, my energy resource, and it releases the energy. It's like I do it now. And it's funny, I can't explain why I do things. It's just like it happens. When my wife asked me, why do you do that? I was like, it just came. Last week I was doing gardening work. It was not planned. It was instinctively, intuitively coming. Boom, there it is. And I did 2 hours of gardening work, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It's just this burst out intuitive release of energy. That's the pair of 5734, and it's amazing. I love it. And it's this subtle one-time thing that kicks it off, and it doesn't come back or whatever. It's just listening to it. There is something, and for me, it's a upward forward movement, and that is immediately okay. Instinct, gut, boom, it goes.
I love that. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Boris. And let's go to Chris, because Chris, you have it as well, and you all have it defined a couple of strengths with the 57.
Yeah, notice it's all red. So there's a lot of unconscious energy in the 57 for me. But how it's shown up for me is interesting because in a couple of ways, like one of the first ways is that, when I was in my undergraduate days, I was going through a fine arts program, learning how to be artistic and how to bring that to the market. And everybody would come to me and want coaching around their art. And they would want me to kind of just intuitively give an impression of what they needed to finish on their artwork. So I thought that was like one way that it's shown up for me. Even though I didn't really know what I was doing, I just kind of knew the right areas they needed to go into and sort of like push a little bit further just to make it a clearer image or a final piece. When I was working in food service, how this showed up for me is that the restaurant was either chaotic or busy, or it was dull and there wasn't a whole lot of traffic. But I could really hear how satisfied the dining room was, and also how satisfied the kitchen was. And I could also hear a little bit about what was missing. Maybe there were people who were on break that needed to be on the floor. So there was just this environmental impression of what was right and wrong that shows up for me in that way. And another way it shows up is when I'm traveling. Sometimes I get a really quick environmental impression of I'm in the right part of the city, or I need to get out of this part of the city, and really, I have to get out of there now because it's not good for me in the moment. The other thing that shows up for me if I'm moving over to working with clients is that I can be a bit selective in my hearing, as one of the characteristics that you've mentioned. There's this client depth that I'm listening for, and I get these hits, these intuitive impressions, like that's really where we need to focus in on, or that's really where we need to unpack and explore a little more. And when I do that, it's almost like this radar. And I get my clients who come to, after we work together, they say, you really didn't hear all the details that I was sharing with you, but you somehow seem to dive into what I really needed to hear. And it was like, I can kind of listen. It's almost like I feel like there's this ocean current on the surface, but underneath there's deeper currents, and I'm listening like almost like a dolphin for the deeper currents, like the radar pings, not so much on the surface of what they're seeing because they're in the boat and they're just describing their journey. I'm looking at the undercurrents and what are the obstacles that are coming down the pipe. And then when it comes to like products and services in businesses that I've worked for, many times people would come to me or hire me because they really wanted to increase a product line, or they wanted to explore how to deepen their service because they weren't really meeting a particular market segment. So, for example, I worked for an architecture firm, and the architecture firm was looking to bid on, it was like a $35 million, shopping center development. And, they had received some presentations from other businesses. And I said, let's put a book together. Let's do a hardbound book of everything that we can do. Let's really make it something really spectacular, because who's going to do that? And so I spearheaded that project. We did a leather-bound hardback book proposal, and we won that particular contract. So I thought that was a very interesting way for me, that it's like I just knew I could just tune in. And I just knew that that's exactly what they needed to do to differentiate themselves and to be competitive in the particular market. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, this is really a self-empowerment trait. And I can really get a sense of when I'm in the right training class, the wrong training class, the right business, the wrong business, the right opportunity, the wrong opportunity, solely by listening. And just like everybody's mentioned, through that right ear, I just know. And there's just this instant, subtle impact that hits me, and I just know. So those are some of the ways that this shows up for me in my design.
Wow. Incredible, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love the analogy of a dolphin, that sonar below the surface while your client's up in the boat. It's describing their experience and you're seeing really the depth around it. I think that's such a beautiful analogy. And thank you, Chris, for all that you shared. Really, really amazing.
I'm going to just say one other thing here is that I think everybody who's contributed to this conversation has helped me deepen what I was going to say. So there is this aspect with the 57, like once I get like a hit, somebody starts talking, then somebody else starts talking. And all of a sudden this image or this, I don't even know if it's an image, but there is this like instant knowing of like, there's the target. That's where I need to move. That's what we need to talk about. So I just wanted to acknowledge that everybody who else has shared already has helped me build to what I was going to say. And there is that quality for me in the 57. And it's quick. It's really fast.
I love that. I love that. And Boris, I saw you reacting to that. I don't know if there's something you want to add there.
It's like Chris said, and I mean, I have as well had Ajna or conceptualization inspiration definition that like jiggles immediately data, organizes it, and then puts it into buckets and things like that, and tries to make sense out of it for me. And that paired with this like intuitive bang, bang, there was a word, that was a word, that was a word, and tuck, 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 there is a new mosaic in my head.
Yes.
It's just immediately firing, and it's kind of communicating upwards straight away. And that is just brilliant. It's just like digesting and plowing through data. It goes like that, bang.
Yeah.
I read a book, and after having read the book, I can do a summary straight away, boom. Nobody needs to ask me anything. It's just there. It's the same with human design. It's just like goes in, deeper, 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 deeper. And it's just there. It comes, and it comes in the moment. Yeah. And that paired together with my gut decision-making strategy and in the now, reacting, responding to questions, that is like I take the input and I can bounce back. So I love it. It's just my design. I love it. Yeah. And 57 plays a big role in that. Is in the moment. Bang, there it is.
I love it. Yeah, Natalie.
Yeah. So as Chris was sharing and Boris as well, it just goes once you hear other people talking. And just as you were talking, I was thinking my most creative times in business. So for me, it's been in the BG5 team for years now in the Business Institute, and of course also in my own company. But coaching coaches is different than working for the institute. And the most creative moments are when we are actually having team meetings and discussing. And now just all of a sudden it's like bleep, of course, because the inspiration comes in, and then it just keeps on building, right? And we just go around and like, we can do this, we can do that. So my role, if you could please go to the slide of what your role in business is, because that's actually what could be innovated, right? And in the products and services, that is what I do, like literally. So if you ever take the BG5 certification course, you will see my name like pop up like every other lesson, I think every other class, because I have created like tons of tools for consultants to make their work easier. So cheat sheets, formats, well, you name it, you will find loads of and it flies out of it's just what I do. It's something I love creating. I'm also, my life work is in what do we call that again? In the theme of form, or what do we call it? Yeah,
purpose fulfilled through form.
Yeah, exactly. My purpose is fulfilled through form. So that's what I do. I create form. And I love doing that, and I love it's also empowering. This trait 57. My whole life work is about empowering. My life work is called individualism, so it's completely in the individual circuit. So I love empowering and supporting the consultants for them to be able to go out there in the world and just make their life easy, so that they have more time to be actually listening to their clients and working with the clients, and they don't have to, go into the details of the theory and find everything. And, so yeah, this is what I do in business, be innovative about products and services.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, so I just love what you're saying, Natalie, because I wanted to make this tie-in from what Shelley said earlier. Shelley said that she has the other side of this, which is really about the client's wants and being aware of and understanding the client's wants. On this side of it, it is the client's needs. So there is this balance between wants and needs. And just exactly, what you're just talking about is that you are creating these formats, you're creating these tools based off what's needed for the consultant to be successful. So just think that that's a really wonderful dance there, and a great balance. And another way that, I just realized that what showed up for me as well, I use this when I've done a lot of my timeline hypnotherapy work with clients to be able to build towards the next question, to guide to the next aha or the next insight when I'm working with clients. So, there is a lot, just this one particular trait, there is a lot of richness in this trait. And there is a lot that can be gleaned in business from this trait, not only in our personal lives, but specifically in business. And I think about leaders who actually have this trait, that they can actually use this with their staff or their teams to know in the moment where they need to pivot, where they need to shift. Like in a meeting, whenever people are around the conference table and there's all these ideas, but they're kind of the same old, the 57 can really go, let's kind of see what pull in from, look at what I've seen in the market. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Let's really amp up the creativity here. And I love that you mentioned that this is the trait of creativity. This is creative intuition. When nothing else seems to be working, or we don't have an answer because it's never been done before, it is where this particular trait can really get activated, and sky's the limit. And I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And especially moving into this new era, things are changing dramatically. We think that things have shifted and changed dramatically since 2020, especially, but hold on to your hat, because things are going to continue to shift and change. I do, sometimes I can see almost, I don't know, like 5 years in the future. I feel like I'm trying to do things and it's not quite ready yet. And then 5 years come down and it's like, that's what the main theme is. And next year, like I said, this is going to be one of the major themes of next year. And it's going to be one of the major themes of the era of the individual. And so because things have shifted so dramatically, because things have changed so dramatically, we're going to need to utilize our intuition when there are no answers, right? The era of planning was all about getting into the details and understanding the details of things and kind of seeing how the continuity of things fits together. This is a totally different era. And it really is about, in a sense, kind of like this picture, like we're walking in blindfolded. We have to come up with solutions in business that have never, ever been done before. We have to think of things really, really outside of the box as we move away from the era of planning and we move into the era of the individual. And I'd love to hear from you, Banu, as well as with all of this conversation, especially in being an advisor, right? And you're an advisor amongst a bunch of builders. And I would love to hear your insights and your perspective, both on everything that has been said, but also how to utilize this moving forward into the future.
Well, thank you everybody for all the contribution that came in. You can always take so many different angles, and that's the beauty of doing BG5 together with a group, because everybody will share their own experience and we can only learn so much from each other. So this is like something I really emphasize in classes. We need to learn from each other and we will learn from each other. And it was beautiful what everybody shared. So great on that. Echoing the era of the individual that we just spoke about, Karen, it's really going to require everybody to tap into their intuition somehow. It's got to be. And we have nothing to trust but ourselves. And the great thing is BG5 and all this knowledge will show you how you can trust yourself. What's your decision-making strategy? How do you make decisions not from your mind, but from whatever your decision-making strategy is, but trusting that it's the right thing for you, and having that clarity that that's what's right for you as well. And another angle I wanted to bring is the component of the fear of the future that comes with this trait. And because it's in the background frequency now, I think everybody might feeling it a bit as well. When it goes into the background frequency, everybody will feel it. And especially what's been happening in the world lately and the last week, last couple of days, especially in Israel and the Gaza Strip, you know, and you spoke about shock as well. It's going to be a shock, and it's grounded in shock. And now there's this really fear for the future in many. But the thing is, it will be there in the background frequency, and it definitely affects the businesses as well, for sure. I mean, whatever is happening anywhere in the world, it will affect the business world. And we're talking about the business angle here. So I just wanted to just mention that it's in the background frequency, and people, if you're feeling it, don't worry, it's coming from the background frequency, but you can trust yourself and your intuition to move into the future safely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the keys really in BG5 and human design, is really trusting how you personally make decisions. And also recognizing that it can be a conditioning force, right? Especially if you don't have it in your design. It can be something like Shelley doesn't have it in her design. It can be a great conditioning force, and it can have you be afraid for the future and not even know why you're afraid for the future. And again, when you're present in the now, when you're trusting what is true for you, that is, in a sense, your armor to experience what you need to experience and making decisions correctly. Each of our panelists have mentioned, that like you mentioned, Chris, knowing like this is a correct place for me or this is not the correct place for me. And so your decision-making strategy, your intuition, your trusting your gut, trusting your emotional clarity, trusting your instinctive clarity, trusting your willful determination, trusting what you say. Those are all different decision-making strategies that allow us and guide us through these very challenging times. And Banu is spot on, is that really that's how we're going to navigate the shock. Because again, things are shifting and changing so dramatically that it can be a shock. So again, it's very interesting that the 57 intuitive clarity is connected with shock. And so we can learn to adapt and adjust to that shock as well. And the only way that oftentimes we can adapt to that shock and that awe is through our intuitive clarity. And Shelley, I would love to hear from you. And in not having trait 57, what are some of the things that you have picked up in taking a look at everything that we have been exploring today?
Well, I think it's amazing to get to hear each of your individual experiences with it. It really brings a lot of clarity for me about how this works. And at the same time, it's sort of like I'm feeling my way through that. I have emotionally defined decision making. But I also have my instincts defined with the 44. So I have some sense of what it is to rely on my survival instincts. That one speaks to me a lot. I think what's coming up for me, though, is recognizing that just being aware that this is in the background and knowing that these shocks are happening. I'm curious to just see how much more alert I am to what's happening in the now and paying closer attention to what my survival instincts are telling me in the now, because that can be a really still, quiet voice, or just like you said, that inner knowing, and recognizing that it's available for all of us in the background now for a while. And then you mentioned, Karen, again in the new year, it's going to be there for about the first 3 months. So I think that it's fascinating that we are all supported by this game called life to provide us what we need to survive and adapt. And I really feel like this is a time of really adapting and getting creative. And I'm really excited. I love transformation and change, and that's a strength that I have. So I'm really looking forward to see how we as a species get creative and innovate and adapt to the way times are changing. That part excites me and lights me up, and I love working with people like you who've got that inner knowing. It makes life really fun and exciting to see much needed changes coming to the world. And I feel like it's an opportunity for businesses and individuals to really just shift and change things to a place where we'll all be much more able to appreciate each of our individual strengths and abilities, and be able to collaborate with each other in a different way that really honors what everyone brings to the table. I think for businesses, it's so important for businesses to understand who their people are, and to recognize their traits and strengths they have like this, and how they can really help a company and an organization move forward if they were only aware of that this is something they can help with. So really listening to your people and allowing them to collaborate and work together for the betterment of everyone. So exactly. I'm looking forward to it.
I love it. Love it. And a great way to wrap everything up, Shelley. And I really do. One of the things about BG5 is that it really is about how we all work together. And I really invite all of you to join us for BG5 Live moving forward. Again, if you are new to human design and want to explore how to use it in your career and business, this is a great way to be able to explore it at a deeper depth and to hear from different people who carry that trait or don't carry that trait, so you can see how it shows up in the world. If you're a current student of human design or BG5 and you want to understand the deeper nuances of the trait, there's nothing better. It's one thing when you read it, right? It's one thing when it's on paper, and Banu mentioned this earlier. It's a whole other thing when you hear the experience of others. It really makes that trait come to life. And again, it's about hearing, just like we heard today, these practical real life examples of how we use BG5 as coaches and consultants, also in our personal life. And it's also understanding how to use the conditioning influence of the environment to your advantage in life and career and business. So in one way you can be conditioned, which Banu just recently talked about, is that, we can have this fear and we don't even know what the fear is there. But if we know that that's in the background, just like Banu said, when we know that's in the background, we can know that the fear for the future is there. So we can ground ourselves and quiet down and listen to that quiet voice, that intuition that can guide us and lead us. And I think one of the beautiful things about BG5, even though we're moving into the era of the individual, and I think this is what's great about BG5 Live as well, even though we're moving into the era of the individual, we're also moving into a deeper connection with those that are, in a sense, aligned with who we are, finding our tribe, finding the people that we enjoy working with, and this is going to be more and more important in business as well, is that the team dynamics are going to, in a sense, create an energy, going to create a frequency that is either everyone's excited and lit up and on board and ready to get the word out there about the product or service, or it's no longer going to work just to work to be paid for money, without a purpose, right? And that's also why we talked about the life work purpose, because your life work purpose should be something that you fulfill not only personally, but also professionally. And when you're aligned with that, everything clicks, everything comes together, and it makes both life and work have meaning, have worth, and brings forth again a different way of dealing with life and with work, which is much more fulfilling. And how much more fulfilling can it be than to love what you do and do what you love? And I think that's important no matter what your career type, but especially for all of us builders as well. So it has been an amazing journey. And before we wrap up, I do want, Banu has a BG5 foundation course that is just starting, and you can still join. So Banu, I just wanted you to speak to it just a bit to introduce people to the BG5 foundation course and invite them in to join you in your BG5 foundation course.
Yeah. So to be successful in business or in your career, I think the number one thing that everybody needs to do is start understanding the basic foundations of their own unique design. So how are you designed to function in the business world? You have to start somewhere. And when you do understand that, and referring to the discussion as well, when you start making the right decisions with your decision-making strategy and not from all your conditioning that's in your mind, that's the best starting point that anybody can have. So what we do in the foundation class is we go on a journey where we start uncovering everybody's hidden potential by everyone understanding their design. And the good thing about it, of course, is that we do it collectively. That's the best part of not reading it or studying it yourself, but we learn from each other and the energy comes out and it resonates so well with everybody. And we cover a lot, the career design of everybody, what's your type, what's your decision-making strategy, the signposts to make sure you're okay. So, and then it goes on for another semester where we go deeper. But it's just great. Every time I teach it, I learn something new. And it's my 5th year, I think, teaching it now. So it's just great. So I'd like to invite everybody who wants to come join us. It's not late. It's on Thursdays. And I'm going to be teaching the second class this week. So
yes.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And Banu is an incredible instructor. Not only that, she has her experience in business and how she has utilized this information in business is invaluable. She's worked for a major corporation, and to be able to utilize this information with her teams and the experience and the examples that she has are incredibly powerful. So I highly, highly recommend joining Banu's class. And again, this is the great place to start, especially if you're looking at becoming a BG5 consultant. This is the place to start. The place to start is the BG5 Foundation course, because it really gives you a solid grounding, not only in yourself, but also if you want to work with your team or work with clients. Recently we were discussing, like, everybody in HR, for example, should know this information to know who to hire, to know who's going to fit on the team and who's not going to fit on the team. So even if you want to bring it to your own business, understanding this information can deeply impact how you work with your individual team members and also how you work with yourself. And I may be biased, but I think this is the system moving forward into the future that is going to have a major impact on how businesses shift, how businesses change, because what once worked in the era of planning is no longer going to work. And this is a place where we're going to have a lot of shocks in business. And so I think it's absolutely necessary to understand ourselves at a deeper level and to understand the people that we work with or the people that work for us at a much deeper level. So again, invite you to join Banu in the BG5 Foundation course. And again, you can go to the BG5 Business Institute.com and you can look up the courses, and again, would invite you to register for her course. All right. Well, it is great to be back, and amazing, amazing discussion. We could probably sit here and we could talk about this forever. And that's one of the beautiful things about BG5 and actually the BG5 Live, and taking a look at each of these traits. There is so much depth and so many nuances that even if you've heard this information before, you get it at a completely different level. And I want to thank all of you. So thank you, Banu. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Boris, for all contributing. It was incredibly, incredibly rich. And I hope all of you will join us next time. And look forward to diving in and continuing our BG5 Live journey. So look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for our entire panel, if you'd like to sign off by saying goodbye, unmuting yourself and saying goodbye, we will sign off for today, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.